So moving swiftly on, I met David Abel at the House of Commons with thanks very much to Gina Gardner, who is here today as well, who was working with Fatima Whitbread. Some of you in the UK will know her as one of our favourite Olympians on a wonderful cause, which is Fatima's UK campaign, looking to support children in care. So we had a great conversation over a wonderful dinner, and the conversation has carried on. So David has very kindly said, although he's incredibly busy, dashing around the world, speaking at other events as well, he said he would kindly come and share his wisdom with our community and our friends as well. So I'm going to hand over to you, David.
Thanks, Gill. I think you set the tone so well for Collaboration Global when you talk about hi, how are you? This is where my talk's going to follow on from. And when is it your time to give? Well, my talk as well is about it's always your time to give. So I'm going to share some slides, but I do know some of the audience here. I know several of the people. I've seen some of the faces, and it's good to see you. And if you're new to me, these days I'm known as a devoted father and husband and a marketing and branding expert. And if you'd like to connect with me afterwards or anytime, please do. I'll put my link in. But today is about us, the micro interactions and the small acts of kindness in the world. And when I put this together, for anyone who knows me, I am sociable. Can you see my screen all right? Just give us a wave. Yeah, thank you. For anyone who knows me, I am sociable. I am optimistic, but I'm also human and struggle as much as the rest of us. And this talk actually has led me to that these small social cues are keeping people alive. They're enhancing the length of your life, and they're keeping collaboration working. So here's a little bit about me and why I feel like this. When I was young, I feel like I experienced this early. My mum is the oldest of 10, and I'm the third oldest of 22 cousins. So I grew up surrounded by my uncles who were older kids, just 5 years older than me, young adults, grandparents, and then 20 young cousins. And my micro interactions were constant. I grew up in that house with my granddad as well. A pat on the head, always. Someone looking round the corner giving me a little wink. A quiet, are you okay in here? Those kind of conversation. There was always someone with an eye on me. And when you grow up with those amount of people, you actually feel the energy. And when there's a house with so many people in it, you can learn to spot sadness. You can help elders talk things through. You notice shifts in mood. And I guess I didn't realise that this could have been training for what was about to come. And there was always a lot of fun in our family.
David, can I just interrupt you for a second? We're seeing your whole computer, not just the slides. So there's a
what
button.
can you see?
We can see all the presentation that's cut. That's
hang on a second.
on the slideshow. You need to start from this slide at the top. So we were seeing it, but we were seeing your whole screen, not just the slides.
Oh, you want full screen?
Yeah, for the slide that you're talking about.
Does that work?
That's it. Perfect.
Excellent stuff. So here's me, the cheeky little lad. Hopefully the story came across in terms of just being around so many people. There were so many dynamics and what I didn't realise. Now, when I was 16, I'll fast forward to work. I grew up where there was tea ladies. We had Sylvia and we had Joan. Joan was the strict one. Sylvia was the real friendly one. And I can still see myself running past that kitchen mid-afternoon when she closed up for the day. And some days she'd be singing, other days she'd be quiet. And I'd always pop my head round, however I spoke. Oi, oi, Sylvia, how are you doing? And she'd always smile every single time. And she positioned herself as the lowest rung in the building, which I never understood. I've never understood a class system. And to me, she held that place together. She was the most known person. And wherever I've worked, it usually is the cleaner or someone of that business status that everyone gravitates towards. She held that place together for me, and she was the emotional thermostat. But we don't have tea ladies anymore. And we're dying for company. We're literally dying for company. The lack of social connection we have is shortening our lives. I've had a look into the National Institute of Medicine and the British Psychological Institute, and these are some of the stats around loneliness and isolation. When we take micro interactions off the table, anywhere between 20 to 30% is causing us early death risk. What does it mean? It's the same stats as obesity. Obesity is obviously a very well-known medical thing that we talk about. It's not as heavy as it's not as strong as heavy smoking, but again, it's in the ballpark. So if we stop micro interactions by constantly pulling ourselves into the boxes of technology, closing down our social environments as well, this is the impact it's going to have on us. I have the stats, we don't need to run through, but loneliness, social isolation, living alone, social isolation linked to cancer and loneliness or cardiovascular, like I say, they're up there with heavy smoking and obesity. I want to talk about the micro interactions at work and in culture. These are some of the things that I've seen. I have a text here that says good morning. I have what is Dubai. I have a local community, and I have health. I used to work with a guy called James, who was the business owner. And some days he would text the whole team about 7:45 with everything on his mind. It would start with brain dump and this, that. What a lovely way to start your day with a text like that. And there'd be four of us, and one of us would always reply, "Good morning, James." And it always softened him up. He realised he'd let whatever stress it was get the better of him, and he'd always reply with "Good morning, guys, how are you?" And over time that stopped. Sometimes it would be urgent, but it made him more humane, and we in turn helped him not adopt that role of just, firing into the team. The next one is culture. I worked in Dubai for 3.5 years. Small talk at the beginning of the meeting can happen. In Dubai, it's long talk. For anyone who's worked in or lived in Dubai, it's normally about 15-20 minutes before you start the meeting. Everyone's talking about what they've been up to or what projects or what's going on in their life. When you balance up 4 to 8 nationalities on any call, there's a lot of check-ins to be done as well. And I've adopted this, not long talk, but small talk, that usually when I start a meeting, we're 5 to 10 minutes in and we'll have covered, how are you? How did you get over that cough and cold? Isn't the weather like it? Something that brings us as people first rather than straight into the work. The next one is someone waving. This was a really important story to me, that after living in Dubai and Vietnam and choosing a far more simpler, less city-led life, that I would walk 10,000 steps every day. And I treated all my neighbours like non-player characters. I think we call them NPCs. I would just walk past them and think, these people, they're adding no value to me. And then a friend of mine who was a speaker had a brilliant picture of her on a stage with her hands out like this. And I said, "What's the hands all about?" And she said, "That's psychological safety. People want to talk to you." So on my walks, I started to put my hand up. And before I knew it, everyone was putting their hand up, mirroring me back, to the point where they'd come out of the woods and they'd be, "You're right, mate. How are you, mate?" People I don't think I remembered. They remembered me as well. And as over time, we talk about all kinds of things that are happening. And then the final one was about health. I met Debbie at my local spa, a place where I used to practice doing my podcast. I call it Stories from the Steam Room, where I felt a lot of isolation post-COVID, especially in the older generations of people who'd been told, stay away from each other, go for a walk on your own. If you're in a shop, stand 10 metres apart. They'd almost felt like they'd lost their voice as well. I met Debbie. Debbie had pneumonia. Debbie used to be a strong swimmer. She said she could only do 4 lengths. Give her some advice. Change the vehicle. It's what happens to all of us. I saw her 2 months later. She was swimming 20 lengths and she was running 100 lengths up and down the pool when she lost 2 stone. My wife saw her recently and she's lost 4 stone. Just from a hot tub interaction where there's plenty of days you want to look the other way and you don't want to interact. We got into that I said, just start walking. That's what some of the older people do. 4 stone later, she's back to her best. So it can affect us, as I say, on the work level, the culture level, our community and health. There's no end to it. What else can I tell you? I think when it comes to why, from the stats I've looked at and from what I experience, we often think people die early because of illness. And sometimes they actually let go before their body does. Not because they're sick, but because they're not participating in micro interactions. Those tiny little things, a chat in the grocery store, a quick word at the pub, one of my dad's favourites back in the day, and pubs are closed now. The barista knowing your orders, the neighbour's wave. These aren't small things. They're actually huge and they're keeping us alive. They're daily confirmations we exist in someone else's worlds. And it's those moments as well. When they fade, something inside all of us fades as well. What's going to happen then when those areas go? Circles get smaller. You start walking this path on your own, constantly talking to yourself. Partners and friends can pass away, which is sad, but it is a sad reality of life. We can move house, we can choose jobs, we retire. TV replaces conversation, the internet replaces proximity. Within my marketing world, I work off formula like the 7-11-4, 4 meaning that's the number of channels you need to meet someone, but 7 is 7 hours. So if I was to take Gill, for example, we met at dinner with Alan, there's 2 hours straight away. We had a Zoom call, there's 3 hours. I've been to Collaboration Global, 4 hours. We're starting to get a picture of each other as well. We're starting to build a relationship more than just on a screen or liking each other's post. These are now genuine connections. And as these areas of your life shrink, your perspective shrinks. And when your perspective shrinks, love has got nowhere to go. It seems odd for me at 47 to be talking about how we share out love and partners dying, but it can happen to anyone. And the older you get, the advice I've been given from 75 to 85-year-olds is many people before you, and it wasn't that person that created the love within you. You created the love for that person, but you have to share it somewhere else as well. Loneliness, it's not just emotional, it is physiological. When we stop anticipating joy, our body registers it. We don't want to go to places. It's a negative experience. We stop replying to things. We miss social cues when eye contact disappears. When names aren't used. I met a guy the other day for an interview. He walked in, "Hey, Dave, nice to see you." Unfortunately, and I'll blame it on my neurodiversity, he looked like James, even though his name was John. So I spent the first 20 minutes trying not to say James, trying to remember his name was John, but it was the power he had over me when he said, "Hey, Dave, nice to see you." And if it took me, like I say, 20 minutes to say, "Well, John, that's a great thing," just to validate him, to show him I understood him. Your name is the most powerful thing. For anyone who's done a podcast whose mind's gone blank when a guest comes on, it's the worst thing, and it's the most important thing. Gill, your surname is Tiney, and I bet you have Tiney or other versions as well. My surname's Abel. My mum used to say, it's Abel, not Abel, from the cold callers as well. So though they're things, when people don't use your name and no one checks in again, those absences are powerful. And we're not talking about it in the same breadth of some of those illnesses that I showed you earlier. I think we misunderstand how powerful micro interactions are because they feel ordinary, and they're daily medicine, the same as any vitamin or exercise could be as well. How do we shift? It's difficult. Again, we're such a great audience here, and I'm honoured to be called a genius. But how is it the minute? We can't control global systems right now. I think it's amazing how much has been exposed, terrifying at the same time. And the reality, who knows what that reality is going to be in 10 years? Are we going to go to a more basic world again? I kind of hope so, if it means that a lot of that stuff Jill pointed out is not going to be there. But they're not random accidents, these micro interactions. They're intentional habits. And anyone who's built a habit and they can build this into their routine, it's a fantastic, repeatable, small action. It can create some kind of structure around connection. Motivation comes and goes, but ritual sustains us. And one of the people I met on my walk was a lady called Wendy, who's in her 70s, whose husband has had cancer for 12 years. And she said she hadn't been out walking for so long. And I met a lady on a corner, okay, not like it may sound, but bit by bit we started saying hello. The next thing, we know each other's names. Her name is Wendy. That's my mum's name. Her husband's called David. How strange, those coincidences. She sees me, she stops, she gives me a hug in the street. Last year my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she's been there, the person to talk to. Have you had this check-up? This is what is expected now. Now my wife got the all clear. Wendy's husband is still going through it. 80, 12 years on, bits of him seem to be falling off. But just by putting my hand up has built this back and forth, proper exchange. There's nothing transactional about it at all. So I have a 10-point plan, things to inspire you. Simple things, nothing heroic, nothing dramatic, but number one is create those micro routines. Do the same things daily if you can. Walking the neighbourhood, attending a recurring community event, joining a digital roundtable, a bit like this one, because repetition creates familiarity, and then familiarity creates safety. You open the door, you say yes, great things will come of it. Speak to one stranger a day, just one. A comment in a queue like this, a compliment is fantastic to give someone. Simple observation about the weather, as we kicked off there. It's not about the depth, it's just about the acknowledgement. Ask a colleague how they're doing, and not a hey, how are you? Just a quick moment. I refer to James. Me and him sat on each other's shoulders for 6 months. A very unheard mentoring route. He had 4 years experience, I had 25. He was building a multi-million-pound business. He didn't know everything. I sat with him for 6 months. And many, many times we talk about the harder side of life, of being a dad and the pressures. You never know what is going on between someone's eyes. Someone's eyes. You never know what's going on behind someone's eyes. All of us have had a rough day today, and all of us have probably had wins. I was already arguing with someone at 6 o'clock this morning about a contract that got pulled on me. It's horrible. And then I have to go, oh my God, it's 7:20, I'm late. On with the day, on with the kids, on with the lunches. You know, it's so difficult sometimes. So pause, listen, make eye contact, because that pause really matters. Wave at your neighbours. Even if they don't wave back, the signal will be there, and people will be popping around the corner saying, it's nice to see you. Volunteer. Okay, there's examples here. There's a company called Be My Eyes, a simple app where volunteers help visually impaired people read. Okay, it's 5 minutes of your time, but it creates huge impact. Obvious things: join yoga, join choir, join a book club, a running group. Consistency is better than intensity. Follow up. Funerals are bringing people together, and that's not good enough. I'm seeing all my friends now who I've been mates with for almost 40 years. I've seen some of my family twice in the last 3 years at funerals. Yes, that brings us together, but that's not the only time connection should happen. Send a message to someone, make a call, reconnect with an old friend. It won't save everything, but you could be someone's lifeline, or vice versa. Just be polite, okay? Say good morning. It sounds basic, but it's not. Saying yes. Where has that led me to? Okay, I'm sorry about this really high-spec designed slide. I forgot to put it in, is the truth. I created a podcast because I wanted to share a purpose message. It led me to QTV, which is my children's head teacher, recording school programs that put parents and children together in the evening. If you know Bluey, QTV is now outselling Bluey for downloads. That's what they want to watch when it's indoor play, and it celebrates motivation and messages. And there's less teacher-parent conversations at the end of the day, because focus, attendance, and the love between the parent and the children has this ripple effect. It's led to Unite in Kindness, which is a dementia-led Billericay, where I live in Essex, project where we've signed up 1,000 people to help the dementia and Alzheimer's community. Locally, we wear the badge. We see you and you want a coffee or a drink or help, talk to us. It's quite new. And then I go to a group called The Bench, similar to this in the USA, where a guy was saying he'd been talking to 16-year-olds who say none of the older generations want to talk to us. So we've created something called 174777, because a bit like something you said, Gill, at the start, is it just me? Well, there's so much, isn't there? Is it just me? I don't know is the answer. So we've put those 3 generations together, 5 of each. We're just going to ask some social questions and say, is it just me? What should our generation do for your generation as well? So things come of things when you say yes and you allow that. Do not wait to be motivated. Okay, action creates feeling, not the other way around. Think of something you can do. I would love to really talk about DNA repair and the future. I think I'm slightly over time, so break out. And I don't know everyone in the group. I've left it at 3 questions here. Where has your micro connection shrunk? Or what micro action would you change someone's day this week? Or where can I upgrade from action to connection? So sorry about that fast ending. I do appreciate the clock, Gill.
Thank you. It's easier in a live scenario because I can wave a little number at you to say you've got 1 minute left to go. We can't do that here, unfortunately. Thank you, David. I really appreciate it.